Make sure your mics are on, please.
The little blue light comes on.
Yep.
Okay. Good evening. Please turn off your phones. Welcome to the July 21st, 2021 regular meeting of the Eureka Springs Historic District Commission. Steve, would you please do roll call?
Here it is. Roll call. Dee Bright.
Here.
Myself, Steve Holofield's president. Greg Moon.
Here.
Marty Cogan's absent with notice. Maggie Haid.
Here.
Randy Maddox.
Here.
And Tommy Zerneman is no longer on the commission. We have a vacancy.
Yes. We have a quorum for business, and we do have a vacancy. If anyone's interested, please go down to City Hall and see Kylie for an application, or Kim and Butch. The Eureka Springs Historic District Commission is empowered by the Eureka Springs Municipal Code to issue a certificate of appropriateness for alterations of exterior architectural features, demolition and new construction within the boundaries of the Eureka Springs Historic District. The HDC uses Eureka Springs Historic District guidelines and U.S. Department of Interior standards for the rehabilitation of historic buildings as the basis for decisions. The Commission can take the following actions on an application: approval, approval with modifications, denial, or deferral for more information. Appeal of denial may be made to the Circuit Court. Public comments will be heard on each agenda item as it is called. Other public comments are best addressed to the City Council. Okay. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda? We need to add,
I'd like to add 32 Steel back on the agenda for an official in-person vote.
and that will go under old business. Do I have a second?
Second.
Steve made the motion. Greg seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is 4-0. It passes. Okay. So under old business, now we have 32 Steel parking pad. New business, that's a level 2 on 32 Steel. Correct this here. Level 2, under new business, 216 West Van Buren, enclosed existing deck with clear roof, clear garage doors. Level 2, 34 North Main, add metal railing to roof and rear spiral staircase. Level 2, 33 Owen, remove door in addition and cover with siding to match. Level 4 to 11 Spring that we have is postponed till the next meeting. Okay. Do we have anybody present for 216 West Van Buren? If so, would you come up to the mic and state your name and address, please?
Absolutely. Hi, my name is Ethan Avanzino, 216 West Van Buren. I'm from the Wanderoo Lodge and Gravel Bar. My husband David and I are here today because we would like to add a patio cover to our exterior deck at the Gravel Bar.
Okay, just a moment. Kylie's going to read
I'm
some
sorry.
facts. No,
So
you're
sorry.
okay.
It's fine. The Gravel Bar, formerly the Freeman House, is a 1914 single-family residence turned commercial building that's part of the Wanderoo Lodge complex, the former Joy Motel. The home features notable craftsman influence, including a large front porch supported by square tapered posts. This home was constructed by Ray and Chloe Freeman, who went on to develop Camp Joy and later the Joy Motel in that location. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness to enclose the existing deck on the right-hand side of the residence with a side gabled roof clad in transparent roofing material, and to enclose the sides of the deck with clear glass garage doors. In evaluating the request for alteration, staff makes the following findings of fact. Alterations are to a 2019 deck addition. The enclosure of a side deck or porch with screening is permissible according to the Eureka Springs Historic District guidelines. As proposed, the enclosure respects the guidelines requirement for minimalist panels that preserves an open appearance with their use of transparent roofing and garage doors. The project will not impact the character-defining features of this property, but care should be taken to ensure that construction does not adversely impact the materials and features of the main front porch. This addition could also reasonably be considered reversible. The proposed alterations align with standards and guidelines, and staff recommend approval of this agenda item.
Okay. Do you have any more things to add to that?
I think you summarized it great. The only thing I had on my notes was the addition of this deck would allow for outdoor dining year-round, and during the pandemic, that has been a priority for a lot of tourists coming to town as well as locals. And so the current temporary tent that we have on the deck allowed us to get through this harsh Eureka winter while still being able to allow for outdoor dining. We also plan on this addition to help with noise abatement for the live music that we have. Thank you.
Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion?
I move that the Historic District Commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the work at the Gravel Bar, 216 West Van Buren, as proposed.
Second.
Randy made the motion, Maggie seconded. Discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you all for your time.
Steve's going to give you a C of A here. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Which is that the next one? Oh,
No,
that's there.
that's theirs.
34 North Main, add metal railing to roof and rear spiral staircase. Do we have somebody here for that? Okay, if you'd come up and state your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Jason Bridges, 34 North Main Street, and this is my wife, Lori.
Hi. And Kylie's going to read.
The property at 34 North Main Street is a two-part commercial building constructed in 1910. This property is non-contributing to the district. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness to install metal railing along the roof edge to be fabricated to match existing railings, and install a spiral staircase from the roof down to the existing fire escape on the rear of the building. In evaluating the request for alterations at 34 North Main, staff makes the following findings of fact. The alterations are to a significantly altered non-contributing building, and the proposed alterations do align with standards and guidelines, and staff recommend approval of this agenda item.
Do you have anything to add to what she said?
Just a brief comment. We came before the board 9 months ago to have that fire escape built. The guy who did that was Jim Wiganall, who also owns Jim's Artistic Touch Welding. We're hiring him again to do this same work, and so he's guaranteed that it'll be matching exactly what we've done before. And nothing that we're going to do will touch the historic portion of the building, which is the ground level Studio 34 Art Gallery.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move the Historic District Commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the work at 34 North Main as proposed.
Second.
Steve made the motion, Greg seconded. Is there discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Steve will give you your C of A. Just a moment, please.
Appreciate the work y'all do.
33 Owen, remove door in addition and cover with siding to match. Do we have anyone here for that?
The property at 33 Owen is a front gabled I house with folk styling constructed sometime around 1892. The additions on the west and rear appeared at an unknown time after 1923. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness to remove a door in the west addition and cover that doorway with wood lap siding to match the rest of the siding. In evaluating this request, staff makes the following findings of fact. The door is located on a western addition that appears post-1923. However, records do not indicate when the door was added. The removal of the door will not impact the building's overall integrity of design. The proposed alterations align with standards and guidelines, and staff recommend approval of this agenda item.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I move that the Historic District Commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the work at 33 Owen as proposed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have discussion?
Our guidelines clearly say original doors and/or entryways around sidewalks, transit shall not be removed or changed.
Original doors?
Well, once 1923, I mean, it's not, maybe not, the whole section's not part of the original house, but it's become historic at some point. You can't say, well, in 1889, they added the door, and now we can take it off. No, we have to kind of draw a line of saying, this became part of the historic structure at some point.
I wasn't able to find a precise date when the door was added. I mean, you could reasonably assume it was probably added when they put the addition on after 1923, but I don't have an exact date for that.
It's still 50 years, though.
Yeah, it's almost 100 years.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is we don't know
Yeah, I
if it was 1923 to 2021.
We're pretty sure it's
so.
more than 50 years.
Yeah,
ago.
I understand.
I don't see, unless they have some evidence to prove the door wasn't there 45 years ago or something, I don't see where.
Okay, do you want, since the applicant isn't here, do you want to postpone this till the next meeting for more questions for them?
I'd say, let's vote on it. If
vote
they
on it.
want to bring it back, they can bring it back. So.
Okay, any other discussion? Steve made the motion, Maggie seconded. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, say no.
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 So I have 4 noes?
3.
3, okay. So you said aye?
I did not.
Oh.
Present.
Okay, so motion fails, 4-0, 3 noes, 1 present. Okay, and then we added under the old business, 32 Steel. We just need to make a motion and discuss this for the minutes. This was last time, and the person wasn't here, so we were going to have a special meeting, and then we voted by email. And so we just want to clear this up. So,
I move that the Historic District Commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the work at 32 Steel Street as proposed.
Second.
discussion on it? Steve made the motion, Greg seconded, and this is for 32 Steel Street. In favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Aye. So motion carries 4-0. 1 no. Consent agenda items, we have none. Administrative approvals by our city preservation officer, applications for repair and work involving no changes in materials plus changes in roofing, paint colors, and signs. These will be all level ones. 32 Kings Highway, paint color. 91 South Main Street, paint color. 55B South Main Street, sign and paint color. 66 Mountain, repair windows, replace glass on door. Commission business. Approval of minutes for July 7th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes for July 7th, 2021.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Steve made the motion, Maggie seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Discussion of exterior painting and guidelines and expectations. And Kylie gave you a handout.
Yeah, you should see in front of you a pretty thick pile that says property maintenance in historic districts. I don't expect you to read all of this right now. Some things to think about with this. We currently do not have a minimum maintenance expectation for buildings within the historic district in Eureka Springs Code. The only thing that comes near that is the nuisance building section, but that doesn't specifically outline any parameters for folks to keep their paint from chipping, painting the whole house instead of just the facade. Other municipalities have established minimum maintenance ordinances as part of their historic district chapter or landmark preservation chapter of their municipal code. So I've included several examples of that in here for you guys to look over, and we can circle back to it at the next meeting. The key things to consider with minimum maintenance through ordinance is you have to have a clear procedure for how that process works to ensure that it's equitable. There also needs to be a provision for economic hardship. So if a property owner can't afford to make necessary, do necessary maintenance projects, that there's a process to evaluate that. So all of that's outlined here. There's some really good guidance from the National Park Service, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, specifically as it relates to demolition by neglect. And then there's also a pretty good piece from the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions. So a couple potential pathways would be to consider a minimum maintenance or preservation ordinance as it relates to demolition by neglect or making really specific guidelines for how you should maintain your property. Other municipalities have chosen to do education and outreach, essentially creating like handbooks for homeowners that give them tools and resources to know how to best maintain their property, to try to do preservation on the front end and do relationship building versus punitive or fining them. The other option would be to develop a technical support or funding program that would help with the financial hardship that some folks may face and provide tools and skills to help them through workshops and other things. So those are just some ideas to consider, and I'm happy to answer any questions about stuff in here, but you'll need some time to digest it.
Would you send us a digital copy of that?
I would love to.
And once we've done that, I'm just curious, looking beyond that, this is our concern, but it doesn't start with us, I think. So I guess it's probably too early to ask what a next step might be, but in my mind, I'm going to be reading this wondering, okay, what would the next step B? In other words, who would take this and own it?
Yeah. So several other cities have their historic district guidelines as part of code. And built into that is enforcement and collaboration with the building official or whatever authority they have in their city. So it becomes legal, whereas our guidelines currently are just guidelines. So that's one potential pathway for that.
I love the idea of creating a fund or some program that can help people who can't afford it to get the property changed. That there's some kind of qualification process for that. Thanks for doing that, that's great.
For sure.
Yeah, I look forward to reading that.
For sure. Be good. I've read part of it this afternoon because I picked up mine, when I met with Kylie this morning. Interesting. Okay, discussion of murals and sidewalk art installations.
So this question came up at the last meeting specifically about where HDC is supposed to fall in the process of public art installation. Guidelines as they are written currently are pretty vague. For the content question, is this aesthetically pleasing, is this art, that decision with our guidelines is deferred to the Eureka Springs Art Council. So they review it for the art quality, and HDC's authority is determining location, installation procedure, and trying to figure out if it's going to negatively impact historic structures. Go, yeah.
Why don't you go look at the library? They just painted the one right there by the thing, just 3 months ago, 4 months ago, maybe 5, not much more. It is all just, looks like it's been there for 10 years. Peeling, flaking all over the place. It looks horrible. It doesn't look like art. It looks like some kid did that and we need to paint over it. I mean, come on.
We're not the pretty police.
I know, but it's not, but we're not supposed to be painting on sidewalks. We're not supposed to be painting on buildings either. That's graffiti.
I wasn't able to find any examples from other cities that deal with sidewalk painting specifically. I was able to get some guidance on how different areas manage murals, and it seems to be fairly universal that if it's in a historic district or it's a historic resource, you're not applying a mural directly to the surfaces of that building. It would be on a board or something
Correct.
that would be then applied to the building.
Yes.
And we have an example of that on the Mud Street with the mural there. It's on a board applied to the historic building,
Yes.
which can be removed.
Yes.
But the wording here, direct painting of fences, walls, and other original surfaces will not be approved. I mean, sidewalks is not specifically mentioned here, but it is another original surface,
It could
and
be,
they
yeah.
will not be approved. In other words, I just read that as you will not paint the sidewalk. I don't think I necessarily agree with that, but that's what this is saying.
I think,
I think there's, and again, without becoming the police, I've seen a case where I thought, why did they do that, and how did they get away with it? And then others have come to us, and we've approved it because it was a community effort by the kids in high school, which was, in my mind, those are very different things,
Yeah.
but not because of what this says, and I don't know where I come down on. I'm just saying that it's still very murky to me.
it is, and I think the sidewalk issue is particularly problematic just because it's tied into this greater who owns the sidewalk, who has authority over the sidewalk, who repairs the sidewalk. And there's a difference between the historic limestone sidewalk areas and a concrete sidewalk, as far as being considered original fabric. So
I think permanent versus temporary is huge, when it will just wash away or and 6 months they will come back and paint over it, something like that is a big difference too.
Yeah, and most cities that have a public artworks section in their historic district guidelines requires a maintenance plan establishing who that responsible party is, if it's going to require funding, where that comes from, and a removal plan as well. When are you going to take it down? Who's going to take it down? How are you going to take it down? So establishing a more comprehensive process to evaluate proposals, I think would be a good idea to consider.
Right.
So when we do the guidelines, hopefully that can be added in.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it would be wise for us to kind of chew on this a little bit and come up with ideas for what that procedure might look like. I also have several other examples from cities that I'm happy to send to you, but they're pretty big, so I didn't want to print them out. But they have pretty clear expectations for public art, and some cities treat different types of public art, like a mural is different than a sculpture, and how those are treated and where they go is different.
I would hope that there's a way that we could approach this in such a way that we're showing support for public art, and in fact, maybe there could be more of the kinds of things that people want to do allowed, as long as they are done in a way that has a finite amount of time associated with it and a plan for its removal. In other words, it's an installation. Everything is an installation. So if you want to paint the sidewalks, we could encourage that. We could sign off on it as long as how you do it and is environmentally friendly and temporary, and you have a way that after the end of a year, it's gone and it's back to the way that it was. So I think we could do both of those things.
Yeah, and there are several examples of cities that have really successful public art programs and are able to balance that support and preservation of resources.
I would like to understand that.
I would think
better.
Crested View.
Yeah, there's several in Colorado. Frederick, Maryland was one I looked at, I believe. So they're kind of all over the place.
Great.
Did you
Yeah,
have-
better parameters.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. There are cities that have really successful programs already in place.
Wonderful.
Okay, our next is a report on Historic District Guidelines, RFP. Staff?
So our deadline for the revision of Historic District Guidelines was Friday, and I got 4 proposals from different consulting firms, and I'm currently in the process of reviewing those. I know that when we voted on this, you all voted to allow me to choose. I am happy to touch base with you about who my final choice is and provide you with that proposal if you'd like.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay, HDC website proposals. And you have another handout?
Yes.
Allie's been busy.
She's been busy.
Oh, yeah. Don't want to be bored or anything, you know? So, something that I've noticed in even the short time I've been here with respect is it's very hard to disseminate information about the historic district and the commission and the processes to the public. Specifically, people who are interested in coming to this community, investing in property, buying a house here, whatever that might look like. And the city website currently, I don't know if you've been there recently, but it's not super user-friendly. And the back end, the staff end, is very difficult to work with.
The search engine never worked.
It never works.
No. And it was hacked recently, so sometimes it's hard to get on the right page, so kind of a disaster. The challenges that, the HDC has had is visual presence. Who are we? What do we do? What are our goals? Information sharing, accessibility for stakeholders, whether those are citizens in our community, people who want to move here, and that accessibility is an expectation for 2021. People want information quickly and they want it easily. And I think this would also be a really great way to increase public outreach and support for preservation here. So the solution to that would be to create a historic preservation website that includes general content about the history here, important historic structures, what preservation is, why it's valuable in local economics, investment in property, and all of those things that we believe in and know about, and also just educating folks about the HDC process, having applications available online where they could fill them out and submit them online through a portal or email them directly to me. And there is an endless possibility of what this website could include. So obviously there's a process to doing that, including visual identity and branding. So I was actually approached by Main Street Eureka Springs to, they were interested in partnering with us on a project and have offered to assist with visual identity and branding and provide us a small buffet of proposals that is just in an effort of good faith, no charge, to create a partnership to get some visual branding and start getting out there and being recognizable. And then with the website specifically, I've included a couple different options, Wix, Squarespace, and WordPress. These are all relatively user-friendly, and it would be something that me as staff or a commissioner could develop without too much trouble. We wouldn't have to have a web developer design this, so it's reducing cost as much as possible. And they all provide a really good visitor experience and all the capabilities that we would need. My recommendation would be to use Squarespace. It is the most economical choice that has all of the features that we would need. It's $18 per month, and you save 30% if you do an annual membership on that. So essentially, my action item for you all is to get your thoughts on a website and see if you would be in support of using the HDC funds to support that. We could get grants for it in the future, but our grant cycle is already set, so I can't add that to the grants that we receive.
I think that we should do this. Whenever I go to the city website, I experience it as you described, and I really think that it needs some serious thought and digging. And who do you think could actually build the website? Is that something that, or who would oversee it, at least on the city side of it?
I mean, I was thinking me. I've built a personal website using Wix before, which is not as user-friendly as Squarespace. So I have experience doing this, and I think after the bulk of getting all of that content on there, maintenance would be fairly minimal. So I don't think it would be too much of an expenditure of my resources to work on that.
And if Main Street's gonna help, I mean, then you would have Jackie too for
Yeah,
backup.
so we
which
have
she's-
other folks that can
She's
help us out
excellent
with
too,
that
and I think Squarespace is probably her choice too, just from what Main Street does, since I sit on that board.
Because you want to go through a design process, right? I mean, you'd want to map it out, you'd want to get some degree of consensus on that sort of thing. And generate as many ideas as you can so that, you've got a pretty clear and complete.
Yeah, and again, there are other communities and local preservation organizations that have really great websites. So again, not reinventing the wheel, using our resources, honoring those who have done it well. And I've kind of been playing around with content. So I have a super unofficial proposal, I guess, that I would be happy to email to you all. Again, it's kind of a long document, but I think it's a really good starting point. And I think that, we could put this on Google Docs or something where we could collaborate together, leave comments, and have this be, an open process.
I support this 100%. Can't have too much information.
That would be, the $18 a month would be $216 for the year, and I know we can more than cover that.
Oh, yeah.
And then if we can get it, the next grant cycle in, if it qualifies,
It'd be great.
that would be great, because I think whoever left us that money would think that would be a good use for it.
When you say the 216, was that with the 30% discount?
No,
Okay.
I
That's-
just did
that's
the
even
flat.
better.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, it
even
makes it
better.
Yeah, about $40 cheaper.
Yeah, if you want me to,
Okay.
yeah, I
I'm
think
all
that.
in favor.
Me too.
Do we need to vote on that, Kylie, or?
Yeah, we have to vote to spend the money, yes.
I move that we spend the money to develop this website out of HDC funds.
Second?
Steve made the motion, Greg seconded. Any discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And on that, Kylie, have you had time, I know this isn't the biggest thing on your agenda, I think this is Equity Bank where that account is. We need to get you on the signer, and we need to add Steve and,
Maggie,
Oh, you're our secretary? Okay.
no treasurer.
Treasurer, okay, and Maggie. I was going to say, who was our other person? Yeah, I know I'm on it, but we'll just have to do a whole signature and put,
Yeah, I don't know how that works, so.
okay, I can do that.
I'm just along for the
Just,
ride.
The bank will help you.
yeah, I just need the account number,
Okay.
and they'll just give me that, and I'll go down and talk to them. That's not a big deal at all. I do that for preservation and Main Street all the time. When we change officers, we need, when we get these minutes, we need a motion. I think we took a motion, but could we make a new motion to add these signers so it'll be in this one, and then I can just take that to, that's
I
what the
move
bank.
that we add to the signature on the Equity Bank account, the treasurer and the secretary, existing treasurer and secretary of the HDC,
Would you state their names, and Kylie, and myself?
and which is Maggie Haid and Steve Holefield, and also
Dee Bright.
Dee Bright and Kylie.
Second?
Any discussion on it? Okay, Steve made the motion, Greg seconded it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 4-0. That way I'll have a fresh minutes to take. That's all the bank requires.
Right.
Okay, our next meeting will be August 4th, 2021. Level 3 applications are due Thursday, July 22nd. Level 2 applications due Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. Commissioner comments. Greg?
None.
Steve?
I think Kylie's doing a great job. You really
Agree.
hit the ground running. It's very big shoes to fill, and you've done a really good job doing that. Also went to the Chamber Music, the Opera of the Ozarks last night. It was great. It's a wonderful thing we have here in our town, 70th year of opera. So I think it's not over yet, so everybody should go participate in that. They are doing mass, and they're cut down the number of people and stuff, but it's still a good performance.
Maggie?
Just thank you, Kylie. I mean, it makes it wonderful that we're going forward.
Randy?
Just because of what you just said, you know, I had guests come recently, and they heard from one of our local shop owners about the Young Americans who were here this summer, and I swear that the next day they were leaving, they couldn't stop raving about all the kids and the show and everything about that. So your comment just reminds me of how many great things there are that are going on around here, and I just wanted to mention that has really made an impression on
Heard
at
good
least
things about that.
a number
have
of
too.
people that I've heard about these kids, all these young people too.
Yeah, it's a great thing that we have in our town every summer. And I don't have any comments for once. We're trying to,
What?
Cocktails for a Cause, I was hoping for August. Jackie's telling me September, so it's probably looking, as the numbers don't keep going up,
crazy.
we'll just wait and see.
Do you know who the first,
Well, the biggest one in the downtown, unless they have all their deck, well, you haven't hosted it.
not
We
yet?
used to with Maine, and we would talk to you, is New Delhi, because he has the 3 levels. But if you hang around, I'll tell you about it.
But
So
the-
we're just hoping, I mean,
Who would be the first recipient? Is that already
Oh.
been mapped out? The first
I
cause?
think-
It's done by month, so.
it's done, well, yeah, and whether we do that, or there's a couple Jackie's tossed out because of the ones who always participate that we know really need
Right.
the money.
I'm just ready for it to come
Yeah.
back. I just, yeah.
We are too, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's on that board, I'm in charge of it
Yeah.
with Jackie, but, and then we're bringing in some other people also to help us from the non-for-profits. So, and Kylie, I think she's doing a fantastic job. I'm excited to have all this new stuff, and it's just, we needed it. So I'm just thrilled.
Of course.
So I need an adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Steve made the motion, Greg seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.